Welcome to Deep Thought. Sometimes just sit back and watch. I'm serious. This ain't that deep. Sometimes the best way to learn stuff is to sit back and just watch. Just pay attention. You could see so much. And it's interesting how I got to that mindset because I've had it since I was little. I remember my grandmother told me, her and my mother be in a room, sometimes be some other ladies. And they said I would just sit between them and just watch. I'd be like a little kid. Because I was real quiet when I was little. I had a kindergarten teacher who, she didn't like me, but that's another story. She said I was reticent. Because I was just real quiet. But I would take in everything. In fact, it was funny. I remember when I was, I was in my 30s. And I was working at started working at this gym, and they picked that up about me. They said, Ram is just to sit there and be quiet, but he picking up everything. I'm going to tell you what, you learn so much. You learn so much because the key to it is don't have any preconceived notions. Empty your mind and just watch and listen. Just pay attention to people. In fact, that's why, starting from then with just sitting there and listening to my grandmother and these other ladies talk around me and just everything that I talk about on my men's channel about the nature of women. That's because I've been paying attention. I didn't assume anything. I emptied my mind and just watched. I just paid attention. It was right there. In fact, got to the point, they would just tell me stuff. They would tell me stuff, right? But that's like a more advanced thing to get them to talk to you. But sometimes if you just sit back and just pay attention to things, like when I go on jobs, I always joke and say I had 1,000 jobs. It's more accurate to say scores. And just real quick, I know I saw a comment. People say, oh, he said he had all these jobs. That person didn't know me personally, and I'm that type. I stay busy. I would have there's one point in my life I had 2 jobs and a business. I just hustle that way. I'm actually a little bit more chilled now. I just got one business. But the thing was, right? One business, multiple outlets. But anyway, right? I would just, when I was on just different places, going to a new job, I would never be gregarious my first day there. I wouldn't assume anything. Virtually every single job, I know they told me this on one job, that gym job, but virtually every job they would say I was quiet, or they would say something because they would say it later. It's you just seem so quiet at first. And it's that's because when I go in, I just sit back and watch everything. When I would go on jobs, I just pay attention. In fact, I do that socially because I'm a member of 2 gyms. And I'm starting to go to the second one a bit more. The first one, I did the same thing. I sit there. I don't go in hey, how you doing? I just sit back and just watch. I be watching dynamics, everything. I pay attention to stuff, no matter what it is. No matter where it is, I just pay attention to the dynamics. And you learn so much. See, a lot of people, when they go into any place, they're already thinking about what they're going to say, what they're going to do. Some people try to present something. Even some people who are naturally introverted, they don't necessarily sit back and watch anyway. They just kind of do their thing. They're not paying attention to everything. They're not seeing everything, In fact, I remember another time, the way I pay attention to stuff, it was a summer job. It was a summer job training younger people on with different work skills. And I remember I went into the classroom, we were training them, and I noticed some differences right away. And the main trainer, I never forget, she said, how you notice all that? I said, just see everything. I pay attention to everything, And it's a power there, learn, I'll go into any place and I'm starting looking around. I start paying attention. I start looking at nuances. If I go any place with people, I'm paying attention to every little thing. I'm paying attention to nuances. All right, if I'm on a job, I was okay, who's talking to each other the most? You know, if I'm going to the cafeteria of a job, it's like, okay, who's sitting together? Who's sitting by themselves? You know, who's doing what? Who's talking more? Who's staying back? Like, here's a story about that, right? Here's a story about that. I remember I met this young lady when I was doing some vending. This was back in '96. And, you know, I've done a ton of stuff too, vending. You know, as an aside, I'm really a workaholic. I need to chill out. But, okay, so I'm vending, right? Met a young lady. She was part of the organizing staff, right? So, you know, we clicked, got the phone number. She invited me to, like, an office picnic, right? And, well, it was like, well, backyard barbecue. Wasn't a picnic, so it was at somebody's house. So she invited me, and I'm thinking, you invite me around all your friends, and they talking. And me being me, at some point, I just sat back. I was just sitting back, I was just kind of looking at people. But then it was a woman there too. She was doing the exact same thing. She was just kind of sitting back looking. And I was like, I ain't really say much. I mean, you might say, hey, how you doing? You know, something like that. But we didn't really talk to each other. So we both sitting back looking. So when the young lady who had invited me, when we were by ourselves, I said, that was your boss, wasn't it? She's like, yeah, how'd you know? I said, well, you know, she was sitting back watching how y'all were behaving. You might want to think about some things when you get back to work. Because she was just sitting back because they were cutting up, doing all this stuff, all drunk. And she's just sitting back chilling. And I was like, yeah, that's the boss right there. But I knew that from just watching how people behave. See, you can learn a lot if you just sit back and chill, don't know anything. Sometimes learn how to be quiet. Learn how to be quiet. Now, I know y'all see me talking here, but, well, what we going to do? Just sit here and just stare at each other? Be like, yeah. Y'all be like, damn, Ron, took up my time like that. You supposed to be hitting us with something deep. Nah, but seriously, if you see I'm out or something, in fact, some people who have been out with me, maybe at like a after party for like the self-improvement summits, they can tell you I was doing the same thing. I always just kind of sit back and just watch shit. And it's a power there. You can learn different nuances. You can see stuff about people. Like, just sit back, don't call attention to yourself, because then people don't think about it. Their mask tends to fall around you. You know? And then you can see situations, you can see by people at their most natural. Very important. And, you know, I strongly recommend it whenever you go into a new situation, just to see what you're dealing with. I call it the politics. Okay, what's the politics? Okay, that's a person talking all the time, but then that's a person real quiet who's walking around like they own shit. Okay, that's the person everybody's avoiding. Okay, all right, why are they avoiding that person? Let me keep paying attention. There's so much there, but just, you know, sometimes just sit back and chill. Just sit back and watch stuff. Pay attention. You know? You learn so much. So anyway, that's all I have for now. I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.